What's up everyone, I'm Tim and this is my channel 40 Times Around. Today we're going to talk about how to do an oil change for your motorcycle in a parking lot. Alright guys, let's jump right into this. So when you're traveling on a motorcycle, one way to save money is to do your own maintenance. So oil change is pretty common if you're on a motorcycle trip, and you can save a decent amount of money doing your own oil change. Plus, typically a motorcycle is going to take less than 4 quarts of oil, which means you'll be left with a little bit of extra oil, which is always nice to have with you. Just to top it off, if you find out after an oil change that you're a little low, it's nice to have that extra oil with you. And also, it's nice when you're down on your hands and knees working on your bike, you just kind of get your hands on it, make sure everything's good, just look at everything, get to know your bike while you're down there. So right off the bat though, we're going to need to know 3 things, and this applies to any motorcycle. You're going to need to know where your oil filler cap is. On my bike, that's right here. You're also going to need to know where your oil drain plug is. That is always underneath the motorcycle. And then you're also going to need to know where your oil filter is. Now, this fluctuates slightly. Could be on the front, underneath the bike, just behind the tire, or it could be on the side. On my bike, it's on the left side. So we're going to start with warming up the bike, and while I do that, I'm going to get under here and get everything out of the way. My bike has a skid plate that needs to be removed. I've seen some bikes with the, there's things in front of the oil filter you got to get out of the way, so just make sure everything's exposed. And we're going to get the bike up to operating temperature. For me, that's 140 degrees, and then we're going to go from there. All right, so we got the skid plate off. Make sure you're careful when you're down there. Everything's going to be really hot, especially if your bike's running. We got it up to 140 degrees, which is operating temperature. Now what you want to do is crack the filler cap just a little bit, just to let a little bit of pressure off, and then we're going to take the oil drain plug out. That we're going to do really nice and slow because it's hot. It's going to rush out really quick, especially if you have thin synthetic oil in there, which I do. And you don't want to make a mess all over the parking lot that you're in. Now, if you're traveling on a motorcycle, you're most likely not going to be carrying one of these with you. This is an oil drain pan. They can be picked up pretty cheap at an AutoZone for like $5. But if you don't feel like wasting the money on that, you can use a couple of empty water gallon jugs. But I am actually at home right now, so I happen to have one of these. So this is what we're going to use. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is take the oil filter out. I prefer having the socket style oil filter wrench as opposed to the plier style, just to prevent slipping, that kind of thing. So it's a really good idea to have some extra rags with you. I actually carry some orange hand cleaner with me too. Even when I'm traveling, I'll just make sure I have some of this on the bike with me, and I always have a couple extra rags. Now, you're gonna wanna let that drain for a few minutes, really get all that oil out, 15 minutes even. So what I'll do now is I'll just kind of go over the bike, I'm going to check my tire pressure. I'm going to look at everything that's kind of out of my direct line of sight when I'm standing next to the bike, things you're not normally looking at. Just look for anything loose, anything out of the ordinary, any damage, things like that. Check your brake pads while you're down here. And actually, if you're traveling, this is a great time to, wipe the bike down a little bit. If you got any stickers to put on your bike, you can put those on now. Give that about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and close it up, fill it up with oil. All right, so this is just about done draining. Now, one thing you might want to bring with you, and I carry this actually in my toolkit, is basically the instructions for the oil change. But really what I need this for is how much oil goes in and what are the torque specs. And believe it or not, I actually carry a full-size torque wrench with me on any major trip when I know I'm going to be doing an oil change, because I also use this for brake pads and a lot of other technical work that I end up doing, and this just takes the guesswork out of how tight to tighten things. So if you are carrying one of these, you might as well use it, and to use it, you're going to need to know what the torque spec is for your drain bolt and your oil filter. Now, the first thing we're going to do is put the oil drain plug back in. Make sure you change the crush washer, and you're going to want to take a look at this new one. Now, it's going to be hard to see, but when you're in person, you can see that there's a flat side and there's a rounded side. You want to make sure that the flat side is facing towards the bike, towards the bottom of the bike. So that's just going to go on like that. Now you want to make sure you're wiping everything down as you go. This way you can tell when you turn the bike on if there's any leaks anywhere. Now when you put the oil filter in, you're not going to want to put that in bone dry. So what we're going to do is just open up one of these oil cans, and we're just going to dump just a little bit in here. And then just take your finger, just go around that rubber seal. Make sure there's a little oil on the top. Just that there's some oil in there when you first start the bike up. So we're on the 4th quart here. Now my bike doesn't actually take 4 full quarts, so it takes 3.7. I'm going to put a little less than 3.7 in, and then we're going to fire it up, let it warm up to operating temperature, 140 degrees, and then check the oil level through the sight glass if you have a dipstick. Same routine. It should say all of this in your owner's manual, or if you have a service manual, it's a good idea to have that with you too when you're doing this. Every bike is slightly different, but basically the principles are the same. So, like I said, don't fill it all the way up. Just make sure that you're at the right range before you button everything up. All right, so we just warmed it up to operating temperature. We're gonna give it about 5 minutes, check it again. As long as everything's good, we can close everything up. Again, check your owner's manual. Sometimes you're supposed to check oil level on the side stand, sometimes on the center stand. Even if you don't have a center stand, it could say that you're supposed to check it with the bike upright. It takes a little practice if you're by yourself to balance the bike with one hand, get down on your hands and knees and look at the sight glass, or take the dipstick out. So just make sure you're following whatever those directions are. All right, everything looks good. We're gonna go ahead and button it up take it for a little test ride, make sure everything's working good. Also, while you're at it, and I've been checking this while it's warming up, take a look at the oil drain bolt and the oil filter, make sure you're not getting any leaks anywhere. And that's it. So hope you guys got something out of this video. If you did, make sure you hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you guys want to see more videos about motorcycles, camping, traveling, and adventure. And that's it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.